I'm going to start the workshop on how to hack your budget. We're going to take your budget, your broke budget, we're going to stretch it as far as we can and get the most value out of it as possible. So here's the question. Where do you get money? Where does it come from, right? So this isn't a traditional sponsorship talk. This isn't about how to get sponsors. This is when you're kind of past that point and you have a budget and it's low and you're trying to figure out how you can make the best of it. And the answer is that time is money, right? A lot of these tricks, like, it's not advice that's going to be, easy, fast, and immediate, right? This is the kind of thing where if you put the work in and your organizing team spends the time investing in going out doing all these things, you will actually get a lot of value out of it. So what does this mean? Well, one of the examples we have here is Midnight Boba. This is one of the favorite things like hackers take away from our event, right? At 11 p.m., 360 cups of boba disappear in like 15 minutes. It's beautiful. People remember it. People talk about it. It makes for great marketing, right? Being able to say you have free boba. But it doesn't really seem budget friendly, right? If you're at the point where one of your meals is pizza, which is like $5 a person, you're not going to be spending $6 a person to get them boba as like an added bonus, right? So instead what we do is we work with Tai Chi Bubble Tea, which is one of our local boba tea places, and we negotiate a sponsorship deal where we get the boba at a crazy discount. I think it brings it down to like $2 or $3 a person, which, look, it's still not the cheapest part of your event, but for this kind of impact, we think it's worth it, right? We get that retention throughout the event, we get that hacker experience, and they get a lot of potential new customers who are trying out their boba and will be going there for potentially years to come. So how do we do this, right? What we're doing is we're selling advertising, right? We're going to stick their logo on the website, our Instagram, we're going to post about them, we're going to tell everyone, stick it on all the shirts, right? And that's a free thing to do. It's pretty free for you to advertise, whatever company it is. And again, you can get a lot of value out of it, right? You get a lot of hacker experience, and then you can also either get donations or discounts for this kind of in-kind sponsorship deal, right? And again, this works. You can tell because the company keeps coming back and doing it year after year, and they wouldn't do that if they clearly didn't see an uptick in sales. And I personally know people who have started eating there and getting boba there, even though it's not even the closest boba place on campus. So in-kind sponsorships in general, how do you actually get them? So there's kind of two approaches. The first one is local vendors. The way to make sure a company is really invested in your college is just finding someone nearby, right? Where oh yeah, RPI is that school right in the same town. They know what it is, they know what the value it holds, right, in the students that they're advertising to, and they're probably more friendly than a large corporation. Now, the flip side coin is that large companies can also actually be good for you, right? Monster, Hannaford's, all of those companies have donation forms you can fill out and get let's say free ice cream from Stewart's shops, right? This is the kind of thing where it's pretty hit or miss. You don't really have control over whether Celsius will give you Celsius, but you can fill out the donation paperwork. You can try to reach out, see if you can connect. And although I'm mostly focusing on food here, right, because it does work for meals or any boba, it also works for just water and snacks, right? We work with Hannaford's. They give it all of us to free. They give it to us for free, right? And we can also reach out to Awake Chocolate for the caffeine. And again, you can also get items or technology through this, like Google Cloud credits or an API access. So another thing that can eat up a lot of your budget, it's actually, first, show of hands. Who here is a hackathon who has to pay for your venue? Yeah, so that's rough. That's a lot of your budget going there. I admit I have the least experience with this one because we're one of the very lucky schools who does not. Our school lets us reserve the entire building for free, which is amazing, but some of you don't have this luxury. So you gotta think about what you actually need, to practically speaking. You really just need outlets, bathrooms, Wi-Fi. Tables and chairs can even be rented if you find a place without them, right? So think about practically what you really need. How much space do you actually need? Do you need the whole building, or is it actually just a couple rooms that you're looking for, right? Do you actually need to book the place overnight, or can you just book maybe the opening ceremony, closing ceremony, and some hacking time? Because hackers do like to spread out. Maybe the move is just to let them kind of go off, work wherever they want, and then come back for all of the workshops. And again, get creative with this. A lot of these things are just thinking outside the box. Sponsors you might not think about, companies you might not think about reaching, and venues you might not think would work for a hackathon, but they actually might. So again, don't be afraid to ask, see what the cheapest one is, and really if it's just gonna be a big spreadsheet of all the possible options and whether they work or not, and if you need the cheapest one, that's what you can do. Now onto swag. This is one we do have a lot of experience with. Making your own swag at a local makerspace. Your college probably has a makerspace. If it doesn't, a local town or a community might have one. And these are fantastic places to get things like stickers or laser cutting or 3D printing. So for example, we print our own stickers. And all you really need is a vinyl printer, which our makerspace has. And a roll of vinyl is like $50 for 100 feet. You don't need that much. You will not need that much, right? So a sticker really costs cents, and most of what you're paying for is shipping and labor. And so it is a lot cheaper. I think for us, instead of like maybe $300 we're spending on stickers, we can spend like 80, right? And admittedly, you're pinching pennies here, right? But maybe it is what your hackathon actually needs. Maybe this is the kind of discount you were actually looking for that'll make the difference in your budget between being able to feed people an extra meal or not, right? And again, this is not necessarily an easy thing to do. If we're printing out 1,000 stickers, our volunteers are going to be in that makerspace for the entire week, kind of just sitting there as you do them in like sheets of 100, and then you have to cut them all out and separate them. Again, it's not the easiest thing, but the payoff is really cool, and we get a lot more flexibility with our stickers. For example, those holographic ones, like sure, it's like more expensive by like 10 cents per inch, but that's nothing then compared to if you were actually trying to buy it somewhere online. And another thing I want to remind you about is that value isn't necessarily items you're giving hackers. It's also the experience that they have during your event. So don't forget about paper printing, right? Hackers might not know the way around your venue, and if you just print out like a large version of a map with like all the rooms labeled, the water, the bathrooms, all of that, and stick it on the walls all over your hackathon, as well as maybe your schedule, that's the kind of thing that will be really helpful, even for the organizers. You're trying to figure out, oh, exactly what time is this workshop going to happen? Boom, there's a schedule on the wall right next to you. And same thing goes for arrows. If you need an arrow to point to the bathrooms, that really helps people. And just kind of think of those kind of quality of life improvements you can add to your hackathon that really don't cost much money at all. So now we're going to get into an activity. I want you guys to get creative with this. And the way we're going to do that is you're going to think of the funniest, silliest sponsor or venue that you think you could host a hackathon on. You're going to turn to your neighbor and you're going to defend it. Convince them that maybe an abandoned mall is the way to go, right? Or my favorite example here, if you guys want one, is a sponsor that I really want is a deodorant company that would give us free samples. I think this would be brilliant. Some people really need it, and others people, it might just be, a funny thing to have at your hackathon, right?
They need other people to have it.
Yeah, I mean, but if you give it out to everyone for free, maybe they'll use it, hopefully. So yeah, turn to your neighbor, think of whatever you think would be funny, and convince them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of these are really fun ideas, and they also actually do tie back to a lot of the core concepts here, right? You got to think local. What do you have that's special? What's nearby that's special? And actually, like the Vegas one was a really good example in the fact that if another club reserved it, then that probably means that you can too, right? So you want to be going to events on your campus. If a different event has a sponsor, you can probably reach out to them, right? Because they've already shown investment in your school. They've shown interest in access to the students. So just go to your college's events, see what they've got, reach out to those companies, and yeah, that's actually a really, really good advice. On that note, also partnering up with other clubs works really well. So for example, maybe you can't pay a photographer, right? However, your school has a photography club and they would love to get some, practice with the photo editing. Maybe they want you to pay something, but it's definitely not going to be like the normal rate. Or maybe your school has a department where you can borrow cameras, that kind of thing, right? And this also goes for workshops and mentoring. We have a lot of other CS clubs on campus, and we reach out to people like cybersecurity clubs who give talks, or ACMW for mentoring during the event. And this is both a really good way for us to get the mentors and the workshops that we need to make our event possible, but also a really convenient way for them to actually meet their target audience, which is CS students, right? A lot of these clubs like might have much smaller events than we have, and the 500-person hackathon and being kind of placed as like, oh, you know, this is the mentoring hour for, you know, coding and community, right? That kind of thing is pretty darn good publicity. Another thing you can do is you can maybe find an art club. Maybe they're interested in helping you guys with some graphic design, right? That can also be a good way of recruiting. Student makerspaces, as I've said previously, they're really good for both creating your own swag, but also they can have really good workshops. One of the most memorable parts of our hackathon is our sticker printing workshop with the Forge. It happens to be in the same building, which is lucky, but again, they're kind of teaching those kind of hands-on skills that are a little bit different and still giving the hackers a really good experience. And there are also hardware clubs, right? Maybe you're gonna have a hardware lab, but you don't quite know the people who are gonna mentor it. You can find a club that does specialize in this, and maybe they'll give a workshop and kind of teach your kind of people, your maybe CS majors, how to use some kind of hardware. And the main thing is just don't be afraid to ask. This goes for the sponsors, the venues, the clubs. Just don't be afraid. Just ask. What's the worst that can happen? They'll say no, and you know what? Maybe you'll have to like buy pizza somewhere else. It's really okay. Don't be afraid to ask. All right. So unfortunately, the fun part is the cheap stickers and the free boba. There's also kind of unfortunately the sad part to having a tight budget, which is that you are going to have to cut some things. And the most important thing to consider when you're trying to figure out what you can cut from your event is what are the core values of your hackathon? What are your goals for your event specifically, right? Maybe you're a hackathon like we are, where we really care about getting a broad audience and introducing more people, first-time hackers, to hacking as a concept. Even if they don't finish, even if they just like go to a couple workshops and leave, we'd rather have that kind of count and visibility so they can come back next year and maybe build something really awesome than we would to have like a small hackathon with maybe 40 people who are super intense and there all night and creating like 10 stellar projects, right? Those are both very different hackathons. Those are both very good hackathons. Figure out what your core values are and kind of play to them. So, for example, one of the things that is recommended if you're trying to do budget cuts is instead of giving out t-shirts at registration, giving them out at judging time, right? Because by then the number of people has dropped from like, you know, everyone at check-in to maybe like 50%, 30% of the people that were originally there. You can give out a lot less t-shirts and they go to the people who actually put the work in, right? This works really well for some hackathons, right? Because the t-shirts are a pretty solid part of your budget. But we don't do it, right? Because for us, it matters more for us to have the visibility on campus of everybody wearing our shirts and everybody kind of having Hack RPI in the back of their minds, kind of finding out what it is, than we would to have like just, you know, a smaller, more dedicated hackathon, right? So whether it's like number of registrations, whether it's a meal, so that's actually what we cut last year. Last year we had to cut our second lunch. We're a 24-hour event from Saturday morning to Sunday, and we had to push ourselves back a little bit so we didn't have to feed them lunch again because we kind of just couldn't afford it. And this is the kind of sacrifices that maybe you don't want to have if you want to have like very hands-on judging, right? If you want them to stay all the way through on Sunday. So yeah, thank you. And do you guys have any questions? I also have a link to the slides, by the way, if anyone didn't catch anything or wants better than like photographs. I think that QR code should work. Yeah? Wait, sorry, with what? Yeah, so our school does let us stay in our venue overnight. We do have to create like a separate deal with PubSafe, which is like the campus police, to make sure that like they patrol or show up once in a while. They do a check, and we're also not allowed to have anyone under 18. But yeah, we are luckily allowed to. Again, you might not, and they kind of just depends on your school and the venue. Are there other questions? Yeah? The stickers? Well, no, it's a printer. It has all the colors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Oh no, it's sick. Yeah.
Because I thought it was like cutting out
The one thing so they don't do, that's the stickers up there. The one thing you don't get is you don't get like a close cut with the die cut. So like die cut stickers are shaped in like the special ways. Here you kind of just get a square of the background, but the square doesn't actually pop up. So you can just peel it off and it's the normal shape of the sticker. But yeah, it's like a full like RGB or I guess magenta, cyan, blue printer. And it works on the holographic too. Yeah. Got anyone else? Questions? No?